What's up, Ragin Nation? My name is Alex and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. In this video, I will be reviewing Prometheus. Prometheus is a movie that I saw 2 days ago in IMAX 3D, and it is one of my most highly anticipated films of 2012. This movie was in the earliest stages of development since 2000. That's 12 years ago, so there's a lot of fan anticipation there. Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors of all time, and I'm so glad he's making his return back to the big silver screen for science fiction. The last time he did science fiction was for Blade Runner and Alien was made 33 years ago. Following those two movies, he made some movies that became one of my all-time favorites, such as Black Hawk Down and Gladiator. So I'm really happy to see him come back to the sci-fi genre, but not just the sci-fi genre, but the alien universe in general. And I got a lot of positive things to say about this movie. Let's talk about the story. The story, simply put, is foreshadowed by the title of the movie, Prometheus. Prometheus, if you don't already know, is the name of the ship that they travel in. And also, according to Greek mythology, Prometheus is a god who is credited for the creation of man. And that's what this movie is really about. It's ultimately about the origins of humans. The story revolves around these two archaeologists. One of them is played by Noomi Rapace. I don't really know how to say her name. It's the actress from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish original version, and her partner, played by Logan Marshall Green. And they dig into this cave, which reveals some scriptures, and they decipher them, and they eventually find out that it's an invitation to meet the creators of mankind, or eventually learn more about who their creators are. And so they set forth onto this mission, this big space exploration mission funded by Wayland Industries, and they land onto this planet to find out about who their creators are. And that's actually very interesting to me. It's very mysterious and intriguing, and it really provokes your mind, especially when you come out of the theater. You're left talking about and questioning, you know, who our creators really are. I mean, even from the fictional point of view, because we're talking about evolution and Darwinism and gods, but according to Ridley Scott's narrative, it's actually so much more. And I find that this is a pretty original concept because people have never really talked about this, so I liked where they were going with the story. Anytime we talk about the creation of man, it usually goes back to talking about God or evolution. Now let's talk about the characters. The main characters in this film consist of Elizabeth Shaw, played by Noomi Rapace, and she's the archaeologist. And then you have Meredith Vickers, who is played by Charlize Theron, and she's a representative of Wayland Industries, and she oversees the entire mission, the entire project of exploration, and she's a big boss lady. She makes sure everything is going to plan and to the best interest of Wayland Industries. And then there's David, played by Michael Fassbender, who does an amazing job playing an android. He should have played RoboCop, actually, but he's a very mysterious character, and the whole time you're thinking, what's going through his head? Throughout the entire movie, I'm trying to figure out what he's all about, just because you can't. You know, he's not human, and that's what makes his character interesting. And you have Charlie, who's not really a main character. He's played by Logan Marshall Green. He is the spouse of Elizabeth Shaw, and also archaeological dig partner. And while he is a bit of a supporting character, he actually has a main role in the story. There's something that is very important for his role, which I won't reveal. And then you have the ship's captain, Janik, who is played by Idris Elba, and I think he's one of my more favorite characters in the film, just because he's a very carefree and laid-back type of character, and you can see that he really doesn't care a whole lot about what's going on. He just wants to get his job done. But later on, you see that he realizes there's a bigger picture and that there are larger things at stake. And there are, of course, the supporting characters who you really don't get to know or care about, which is kind of unfortunate because apparently this 17 expedition team was made up of all types of roles, including archaeologists, geologists, scientists, miners, historians. Oh, and before I forget, there was, of course, the character of Peter Wayland, played by Guy Pearce, who is the mastermind behind Wayland Industries. And I thought he was totally miscasted, because why would you get Guy Pearce to play an older, elderly version of Peter Wayland? Why didn't they get an older actor to play an older man? So that didn't quite make sense to me, because when you get a young guy to play an older man, you got to put on makeup on him. But I think they did a really bad job with the makeup. Now, don't get me wrong. In the viral video where he was doing the TED Talks 2023 video, he was intense. He was perfect for the role. But casting him in the old version of himself was all wrong. So that's something that I didn't really get about the production of the movie, but let's talk about the look of the film, the direction. Let me tell you, this movie has some seriously beautiful cinematography. It had some really great exterior shots and shots of the ship and the alien planet, and I'm so glad that Ridley Scott decided not to resort to too much CG. They used amazing looking physical sets, and the set design for the alien vase chamber and the space jockey scene was just absolutely beautiful, and it really brought you back to the original movie, but it took it up a notch. And with regards to the direction, I'm so glad to see Ridley Scott back to the director's chair of a sci-fi movie, because what I loved about the film was that it was so expertly paced. Some might feel that the movie felt kind of rushed and it needed more exposition, like they crammed a 2.5-hour movie into a 2-hour movie. But I felt it was just the right amount to keep us engaged, because I was engaged from the very beginning to the very end, and it was all because of that opening sequence. We were watching this really mysterious scene, and it made us think, like, what the heck are we watching and where is he going with this? The movie is actually full of surprises, and I kept on asking myself throughout the movie, what is Ridley Scott up to? And then you see something interesting happening. Then I asked myself the same question again. Okay, what are you up to now, Ridley? And then you see something crazy happen, and then like you just kept on wondering what the heck is going to happen next. I also like that Prometheus is very unique compared to Alien. A lot of people will be comparing the two, but I find that Prometheus is capable of standing on its own. Alien is sci-fi horror. Aliens, while not directed by Ridley Scott, is sci-fi action, and Prometheus is more like sci-fi mystery thriller. I like that he didn't make the same movie as Alien and that it was something entirely fresh. There hasn't been a classic style of science fiction storytelling in a very long time, and this, in my opinion, is classic sci-fi. You have space exploration, you have the discovery of alien artifacts, you have elements of sci-fi terror, you even have a little bit of horror elements. There's some action in this movie, but it's not the same type of action that you would see in Aliens. The action is not aggressive, it's there to keep the story developing. And with that being said, this is not a character-driven piece like Alien. The relationships between the characters are not explored into that much detail. It's more of a story-driven piece because everything that happens in the movie triggers a new event, and then that triggers another new set of events, and it keeps developing from that moment on. And that is what kept my attention from beginning to end. At the end of the day, this is a very different movie from Alien, and a lot of the horror elements that were so dominant in Alien are not in Prometheus, and I'm completely fine with this direction. But that's not to say that the movie isn't creepy, because the character of David is very creepy because you already know he's an android and you don't know what he's up to. And also the look and feel of the Prometheus, you know, inside the ship is kind of creepy, because while it's not the Nostromo and there's no xenomorph lurking around the dark corridors of the ship, you still feel and sense a subtle hint of terror in the atmosphere, like something's not right from the very beginning. You just don't feel safe. And that's what I love about this film. This is classic sci-fi. Seriously, think about it. When was the last time you remember watching a film about space exploration and then the crew finds something that terrorizes them? Think about it. What? Doom? Pandorum? Apollo 18? Come on. Ridley Scott gave us another wonderful entry into a genre that he practically created. He pioneered the terror in space genre with Alien, and he is back with Prometheus. He is so back. Now that I've established that I pretty much love this film, let's talk about the 3D in this movie. The 3D in Prometheus is not the type that jumps out at you. Nothing actually pops out at you. Unlike in the Avengers, they were very good at creating that effect. But in Prometheus, it's not about that at all. In fact, you wouldn't want anything to pop out at you because it would distract you from the story. And this is the type of 3D which is there to create depth. You have foreground, middle ground, and background, and you get a really good sense of that, especially in those wide establishing shots. And considering that this is Ridley Scott's very first 3D film, I think he did a pretty good job. The 3D isn't completely consistent throughout the entire movie, but there are some really beautiful 3D shots, especially in those wide establishing shots, as well as the exterior cinematography where they're showing you those outdoor locations. Overall, this was a great movie. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend watching this movie in IMAX 3D. 8.75 out of 10. In fact, I thought it was even more entertaining than Alien. So what do you think about Prometheus? Let me know in the comments section below. Oh yeah, by the way, you'll notice that I was doing my best to keep this review spoiler free. Well, I'm gonna post another video which is gonna be a spoiler filled talkback discussion video, just because I really want to get into the fine details of this movie, and I really want to just pick this movie apart, and maybe we can engage in some discussion and get some answers for our questions that we have about this movie. So this is really just to create a discussion for all the hardcore fans. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. By the way, did you know that this movie was written by Damon Lindelof, who is also the co-creator of Lost? Because he actually did put a little bit of an homage to his popular TV series, which I totally picked up on right away. And he also put a small tribute to James Cameron's Aliens. Let me know down in the comment section below if you noticed those little fine details. As always, if you enjoyed this review, show your support by clicking that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, and also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu, and thanks for watching the Ragin Ronin review. I'll see you next time. Peace. Really, if you take that scene out, it really doesn't do anything except add a little bit of excitement, but it doesn't do much for the story. It helps